Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Mr. Walter. Today I'm going to share some things about my life. For the longest time, I didn't realize I was disappearing. That's the strangest part. Nothing dramatic happened at first. No explosion, no tragedy, no single moment where everything cracked open. Life just kept going. Days stacked on top of days, routines hardened into rails. And before I knew it, I was moving forward without actually being there. I was awake, but not alive, breathing, but not choosing, smiling on cue, answering questions automatically, saying I'm fine so often that it stopped meaning anything at all. I was living on autopilot, and I didn't even know I had turned it on. I'd wake up to an alarm that felt like an order instead of an invitation. Same ceiling. Same light leaking through the same corner of the curtains. Same reach for the phone before my eyes were even fully open. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Other people's lives unfolding while mine stayed perfectly still. I'd shower, get dressed, eat something I didn't taste, drive roads I could navigate with my eyes closed. I knew every pothole, every traffic light, every billboard, and not once did any of it register as new. It was all just background noise to a mind that had learned how to disappear while still functioning. From the outside, everything looked fine. That's important. I had a life that made sense on paper, responsibilities, people who counted on me, a version of success that didn't raise alarms. And that's part of what made it so dangerous. Nothing was wrong enough to demand attention. There was no emergency forcing me to stop, so I didn't. I told myself this was just adulthood. This was just how things were supposed to feel. You work, you push, you endure, and maybe one day you earn the right to rest. Maybe one day you'll feel something again. But inside, something was quietly rotting. I stopped noticing my own reactions. Things that used to excite me barely moved the needle. Things that used to hurt me slid off like I was wrapped in emotional plastic. I laughed when I was supposed to laugh. I nodded when I was supposed to agree. I showed up physically while mentally I was somewhere else entirely, replaying old regrets or worrying about futures that never actually arrived. I wasn't making choices anymore. I was just following momentum. The scariest part is how comfortable that numbness became. When you live on autopilot long enough, it starts to feel safe. You don't risk disappointment if you don't expect much. You don't risk failure if you never really try. You don't risk heartbreak if you keep everything at arm's length. I convinced myself that neutrality was peace. That feeling nothing was better than feeling too much. I didn't realize I was trading depth for survival. I remember moments where I should have felt present, birthdays, conversations with people who loved me, quiet evenings that could have been meaningful if I'd actually been there for them. Instead, my mind was always elsewhere. I'd answer someone while thinking about something completely unrelated. I'd promise myself I'd slow down later, be more intentional later, live more fully later. Later became a storage unit where I dumped everything I didn't want to face right now. There was a constant low-level exhaustion that sleep never fixed. Not the kind that comes from doing too much, but the kind that comes from caring too little. I was tired of pretending, tired of maintaining the image of a person who had it together, tired of waking up every day and feeling like I was late for a life I wasn't even sure I wanted. And still, I kept going, because stopping felt terrifying. If I stopped, I might have to ask questions I didn't know how to answer. The moment everything changed wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself. It was painfully ordinary. I was sitting alone, late at night, lights off, phone glowing in my hand, scrolling through nothing in particular. My reflection stared back at me from the dark screen between swipes. And for a split second, I didn't recognize the person looking back. My eyes looked older, not just tired, absent, like someone had stepped out and forgotten to come back. Something in my chest tightened. Not panic, not sadness, just a heavy, undeniable truth settling in. This is your life, this right here, and you're not in it. That thought hit harder than any insult or failure ever had. because I couldn't blame anyone else for it. No villain, no circumstance, no bad luck. Just me, slowly opting out of my own existence, one automatic decision at a time. I realized I had been waiting for permission to live differently, permission that was never coming. That night didn't magically fix me. I didn't wake up the next morning transformed, but something fundamental shifted. The autopilot switch had been exposed. I could feel it now, every time I reached for my phone without thinking, every time I said yes when I meant no, every time I numbed myself instead of asking what I was actually feeling. Awareness was uncomfortable, but it was alive. I started small, painfully small. I paid attention to how my coffee tasted instead of drinking it while distracted. I took walks without headphones and let my thoughts be messy and unfinished. I noticed how often I rushed through conversations, already planning my response instead of listening. I caught myself choosing the familiar over the meaningful and asked why. Most days I didn't like the answer. There were moments I wanted to slip back into numbness. It would have been easier. Living consciously means feeling everything, and not all of it is good. You feel loneliness more sharply. You feel fear without the buffer of distraction. You feel the weight of wasted time. But you also feel joy more honestly. Laughter lands deeper. Quiet moments feel sacred instead of empty. Even pain feels cleaner when you're actually present for it.